Chapter 5701 Extortion. As Yun Chujo did not cut off Sha Mo's spiritual sense connection, Sha Mo could also see the situation outside. When he heard Yun Chujo say this, he sneered in his heart. This stinky girl really wanted money but not her life. She actually dared to extort these demonic beasts. She was really courting death. Those demonic beasts thought the same. The thunder beast bear closest to Yun Chujo roared and slapped the ground with its claws. Immediately, several vines formed from thunder-type spiritual power shot out from Yun Chujo's feet. They wrapped around Yun Chujo tightly. Sharp thorns grew on the vines. Almost instantly, Yun Chujo's clothes were dyed red with blood. The demonic bear let out a disdainful roar. How could such a weak chicken try to extort them? It was simply overestimating itself. They had been hiding at the side obediently with one ear. Their eyes were full of pity as they looked at the demonic bear. This idiot would soon know what it meant by regretting it back then. The spiritual power vines on Yun Chujo's body quickly dissipated. Although the demon bear was somewhat puzzled by the speed at which the spiritual power vines dissipated, it did not pay too much attention to it. It released a few more vines. It felt that it could definitely kill the little weakling in front of it this time. However, it discovered in disbelief that the speed at which the spiritual power vines disappeared this time was even faster than before. Although the little weakling was covered in blood. However, it did not show any signs of dying. Instead, it became even more energetic. The demon bear thought that it must have been hallucinating. It released its spiritual power vines again and again. Then, due to the huge loss of spiritual power, it collapsed to the ground while panting heavily. Yun Chujo walked up to it and kicked it. Why are you pretending to be dead? Continue to release the vines. The demon bear. Yun Chujo ignored the demonic bear and looked at the rest of the demonic beasts. To tell you the truth, I'm not afraid of your lightning attacks at all. In my eyes, you're just a group of ordinary beasts without spiritual power. If I want to kill you, it's as easy as squashing an ant. If you obediently pay me a thank you fee, it's fine. Otherwise, I'll kill you and make you into jerky. The demonic beasts were naturally not intimidated. They did not think that Yun Chujo was very powerful. It must be that idiot, the demonic bear, who had gone on a mission. Immediately, another wild lion walked in front of Yun Chujo and spat out several wind blades from its bloody mouth. Yun Chujo only avoided the vital parts and allowed the wind blades to cut her body. This fellow had a faint smile on his face, but his heart was aching. For the sake of the lightning strike stone, for the sake of turning this place into his lightning spiritual energy storage. She was going all out. The mad lion spat out a few waves of wind blades, but when it saw that Yun Chujo was still standing there with a faint smile on her face, it suddenly felt a little apprehensive. Could it be that this wretched girl was really not afraid of the lightning attack? Humph. Even if she was not afraid of the lightning attack, could she still block its sharp claws? Thinking of this, the mad lion suddenly attacked and pounced towards Yun Chujo. Its sharp claws went straight for Yun Chujo's vital points. Yun Chujo's pupils contracted. She immediately turned sideways to avoid the mad lion's attack. With a wave of her hand, several small purple needles rushed towards the mad lion. When the mad lion saw those small purple needles, although it was a little surprised that they were actually purple, it did not take these small things seriously at all. So, it was a tragedy. When the small purple needles exploded, the mad lion cried out in pain. Its golden fur also turned into charred curly fur. Yun Chujo sneered and immediately summoned 18 flying swords. The flying swords flew up and down around the mad lion. The mad lion was completely gone. Chapter 5702 Life-Saving Grace. The mad lion saw the fur all over the floor and fainted with a choking sound. It felt that there was no hope for the lion's life. It would not be able to survive in the Thunder Valley in the future. In the future, which lioness would take a fancy to it? It would be a bachelor for the rest of its life. The demonic beasts behind were also stunned by the scene in front of them. It seemed that this human brat was really not afraid of lightning-type attacks, and she was too despicable. Killing beasts was just a nod of the head. Was there a need to be so ruthless? When the demonic beasts thought of the beautiful scene of themselves being stripped of their fruits, they subconsciously took a few steps back. The Sha Mo in Yunchujia's spiritual beast bag was shocked and angry. It was naturally shocked that Yunchujio was really not afraid of lightning-type attacks. It was angry that these demonic beasts were all stupid. Why did they all attack at the same time? Why did they attack one by one? Were they stupid? This was the part where Yunchujio was smarter than him. Yunchujio knew demonic beasts too well. Demonic beasts were all very cunning. If they all charged forward at the same time, who would be the spoils of war? Moreover, they all had the instinct to seek benefits and avoid harm. Before confirming the level of the risk, they would not act rashly. Yunchujio glanced at the mad lion that had fainted. She withdrew her 18 flying swords and looked at the rest of the demonic beasts. Did you see that? If you go against me, you will end up like this. This is just a piece of cake. I still have many trump cards that I have yet to use. If you don't believe me, take a look at who he is. As Yunchujio spoke, she released Sha Mo before Sha Mo could say anything. She put him back into her spirit beast pouch. Some of the demonic beasts had seen Sha Mo before. When they saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. This little human girl actually subdued that demon? How was this possible? How could the demon race be put into the spirit beast pouch? He wasn't a demonic beast. See? It was him who trapped you in the cave of death back then and prepared to use your spirit roots to set up an evil formation. If it wasn't for me, you would have already died. You should give yourself to me for saving your lives. I will give you two choices. One is to become my spiritual pet and work for me in the future, and the other is to give me the lightning strike stone as a thank you gift. Which one do you choose? The demon beasts that had been resisting earlier had been thrown into the clouds after seeing Sha Mo. What a joke. The old demon had been taken care of by the Sti. Therefore, Hei Shinjo began to collect the lightning strike stones delightedly. These demonic beasts all had their own storage space. What was picked up by Director Xiaofu and the others was only a handful. Most of them were in their storage space. Moreover, in order to attract these demonic beasts, Sha Mo had placed quite a number of lightning strike stones in the death cave. Therefore, these demonic beasts were quite wealthy. Sha Mo's lightning strike stones had been painstakingly collected over the past 10,000 years. In the end, all of them had been used as a wedding dress for Hei Shinjo. Sha Mo was about to go crazy from anger. Idiots. A bunch of idiots. They had been frightened just like that. However, no matter how angry he was, it was useless. He couldn't even protect himself now, let alone stop those demonic beasts. But Face said leisurely, "Old fool, did you see that? The little fairy is so smart and so cunning. I advise you to repent sincerely or you will suffer." Sha Mo was so angry that he twitched and shouted coldly, "Cheong Chi, you are a fierce beast, but now you have become her dog. You are really willing to degenerate." After chapter 5703, I will collect the protection fee. Buttface wagged his tail smugly. TSK. I know you are jealous of my perfect shell. So what if I become a dog? You have a dog name, but you have become a ball. Bah! Sha Mo was so angry that he fainted. Buttface stared at him and muttered to himself, "This old Fu PS ability to resist pressure is too weak. He is even weaker than the red shadow rabbit. Chi-ing, I don't want to talk. I just want to pretend to be a mushroom quietly." Yunchujio had looted a pile of thunderstruck stones. She was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. This time, she didn't come to the Thunder Valley for nothing. At least for the time being, she didn't have to worry about cultivating resources. She looked at the demon beasts with satisfaction. You guys are pretty good. With you guys guarding the Thunder Valley for me, I'm relieved. The demonic beasts. What did she mean? What did she mean by guarding the Thunder Valley for her? Since when did the Thunder Valley become hers? Was she shameless? Yun Chujo raised her eyebrows. What? Are you not convinced? Who wants to fight with me? The demonic beasts shook their heads like rattle drums, but they didn't want to run away. Since the Thunder Valley is mine, we can't let others take advantage of us in the future. If any more cultivators come over to pick up the Thunder Stones, don't be stupid and fight with them. You must follow the principle of the enemy advancing while I retreat, the enemy invading while I disturb, the enemy tired while I fight, the enemy retreating while I chase. If you can run, then run. If you can cause trouble, then cause trouble. Drag them to death. This is your territory. You can't play them to death. Moreover, they can't stay here forever. If they can't get anything, then they will naturally retreat. Do you hear me? The demon beasts looked at each other. This little girl was really mean. Not only was she mean to them, she was even mean to her own kind. However, they were so happy. The lightning stones were all theirs. Why should they let the humans take advantage of them? Hey Shinjo said with a smile, in the future, I will come here every once in a while to collect protection fees. Get ready, or PLL kill you all. The demonic beasts were almost angered to death. Collect protection fees? Why was her face so big? When did she protect them? With that so-called method. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? However, they did not dare to say anything. They could only curse silently in their hearts. After all, she still had that old devil in her hands. If she was not happy and let that old devil out, they would really have no way to survive. After Yun Chujo finished instructing the demonic beasts, she cancelled the temporary contract with the 6 demonic wolves. Only then did she swagger out of the thunderstone producing area and turned around to run toward the Cave of Death. In the evening, Yun Chujo met Sect Master Yuan and the others who had been rescued. Yun Chujo immediately revealed an ecstatic expression. She wiped her tears and said, Sect Master, it's great that you're all right. I originally wanted to come over and help you, but I met a demonic wolf on the way. It wasn't easy for me to save my life. Yun Chujia's clothes were covered in blood, and no one doubted her at all. Sect Master Yuan was touched and nodded. It's good that you have such intentions. We're all fine. Yun Chujo nodded vigorously and asked curiously, Sect Master, were you the one who saved Vice Director Xiaofu and the others? Sect Master Yuan shook his head with a bitter smile. I was also trapped in the death cave after I entered. It was Sect Master who from the upper house's spiritual power branch who brought people to save us. Yun Chujo immediately looked at the Sect Master who that Sect Master Yuan had mentioned. She eagerly approached him and said, Sect Master Hu, it's a good thing that you brought people here in time. Otherwise, Sect Master Yuan and the others wouldn't have been able to survive. If I were to look for him, I definitely wouldn't have been able to survive. You are my savior. Please accept my bow. Chapter 5704 Chancellor who was stunned by Hei Shinjo. He came back to his senses and said with a smile, Get up. It's rare for you to have the heart to save someone. But don't be so reckless next time. Yun Chujo nodded obediently. You're right. I was also worried about the safety of the department head, so I acted rashly. Speaking of which, everyone is fine this time. We should also thank Vice Director Xiaofu. If it weren't for him insisting that we go to the branch road to pick up the thunderstones, we might not even have sent a message. The consequences are simply unimaginable. That's why you should praise Director Xiaofu properly. He really has foresight. Director Xiophus' nose almost went crooked from anger. Was this a praise for him? This was an accusation. This damned brat. That Xiao Lianping was also a good-for-nothing. Why didn't he kill her and let her run around here? Hei Shinjo was secretly pleased when she saw Director Ziathus' twisted face. She was in the death cave and wanted to kill him along the way. However, she thought that Director Ziathus' status was not ordinary. If there was a spiritual weapon on him that could transmit the scene before his death, it would not be good. Moreover, it might not be a big deal if a student died. However, if Director Xiaofu died, the 10 Directions Academy might send people to investigate thoroughly. It would be bad if they found some clues. After weighing the pros and cons, Director Xiaofu had to give up the idea of killing Director Xiaofu. Director Hu saw that Director Ziathus' face had turned into the color of a pig's liver and immediately understood. He said lightly, "When we go back, the Academy will summarize this trial. There will be a conclusion after merits and demerits." Hei Shinjo stopped when she saw the situation. She did not say anything more and retreated to the side of Sect Master Yuan. The guy was quiet for a while and then asked curiously, "Sect Master, what's so scary in the death cave? Has Sect Master Hu killed that thing?" Sect Master Yuan did not hide it. He said with a puzzled face, "Before I was trapped, I had a short period of lucidity. There should be a demon sealed in the cave. The seal on the cave top has been destroyed. The demon must have escaped from the Thunder Valley. However, I don't know why he didn't kill us. The demonic beasts that were trapped also disappeared. Perhaps something happened and there wasn't enough time, so the demon left in a hurry. As for the demonic beasts, they might have died." Yun Chujia's eyes widened. "Ah! There's actually a demon trapped inside? Oh my god! It's too scary." The devilish chi inside the spirit beast pouch was gnashing its teeth. "Scary? Fuck, if you're really afraid and have the ability, don't put me into the spirit beast pouch. Sect Master." Originally, these secret realms that seal the demon race should be underground, but now that they've suddenly appeared, I'm afraid a storm is coming. And that demon that escaped will definitely stir up trouble. The Divine Enlightenment continent will not be peaceful anymore. Yun Chujo echoed a few words and secretly laughed in her heart. Stir up trouble. Hee hee. After the crowd met up with the students of the lower house, they returned to the 10 Directions Academy. This matter had stirred up a storm in the 10 Directions Academy and even the Divine Enlightenment continent. However, this had nothing to do with Hei Shinjo. After all, she was only a listening student of the lower house. Shi Chong had absorbed a lot of the power of thunder and lightning underground in the Thunder Valley, and the power of thunder and lightning in his body had accumulated to the point of a breakthrough. He only needed to use a few more thunder stones to break through. However, Shi Chong was stingy. He felt that thunder stones were hard to come by, and it hurt him to use them just like that. Therefore, he decided to wait a little longer. If he couldn't wait for the heavenly thunder, he would use the thunder stones to break through. Chapter 5705, Release Your Claws. Hei Shinjo had temporarily settled the matter of her cultivation. She was filled with warmth and was thinking about that. This fellow was beginning to miss her pretty boy. Unfortunately, she could not leave the lower house's waterside pavilion as she wished. Di Baiming could not leave the upper house's waterside pavilion as he wished. It was even more difficult to meet him. She could not always use the excuse of lecturing. Moreover, President He could not lie for her anymore. The guy was in a state of sadness. He could only send a few voice transmission notes to tease a certain honored guest for fun. Big Brother Beiyu, I came back from the Valley of Thunder with a slim chance of survival. Did you miss me? Big Brother Beiyu, during the time that I was away, did any coquettish bitches provoke you? Big Brother Beiyu, the days when I was separated from you were so hard that I almost forgot how you looked when I thought about you. Every reply from a certain someone was very simple. It was nothing more than, yes, got it, is that so? And so on. Hei Shinjo was not angered to death. Although she was afraid of being monitored, couldn't she say something nice? What a coquettish person. Yun Chujo cupped her chin and pondered. It would be great if she could enter the upper house directly during the year-end assessment. That way, she could be intimate with the gigolo. Thinking of this fellow asked Ding Wenru, what are the conditions for entering the upper house directly during the year-end assessment? Ding Wenru looked at her as if she was looking at a lunatic. As far as I know, this is impossible. Only after entering the middle house and obtaining a certain rank in the middle house's year-end assessment can one enter the upper house. Yun Chuzhou said indifferently, there's nothing impossible. My brother Beiyu even entered the upper house directly when he entered the school. Why can't I enter the upper house during the year-end assessment? Ding Wenru said speechlessly, Qingcheng, I think that instead of thinking about this problem, why don't you think about how to deal with lecturer Ouyang's inspection tomorrow? Yun Chuzhou immediately sighed. She found many excuses to explain about the red claws. It seemed that lecturer Ouyang's patience had run out. The last class gave her a final deadline. If she couldn't release the entire spirit energy beast during tomorrow's spirit energy class, she would be disqualified from the year-end assessment. She could ask Sect Master Zhen for leniency, but he might take advantage of the fact that she had extorted 2 jade talisman seals from him. He really couldn't bear to do so. She didn't know what was wrong with those damn claws. Even if she couldn't reveal her true form, she could at least move a little. It was as if she was dead every time. No wonder lecturer Ouyang was angry. At this moment, this fellow missed De Hua very much. Although De Hua was a pig, he was still an entire spirit beast. No matter what, it was still better than a dead claw. This fellow tried to release the red claw again, but there was still no progress. This fellow simply gave up. It seemed that he would have to return the warm jade talisman to Sect Master Zhen before he could even hold it. What a tragedy. The next day, in the spirit energy class. Yan Qingcheng, come to the front and release your spirit energy beast, lecturer Ouyang said with a solemn expression. Previously, this Yan Qingcheng had used the excuse of being frightened as an excuse to delay. Now that so much time had passed, she could only release one claw. And it was the kind of dead claw that didn't move at all. This was really outrageous. He Xinjiu took small steps and slowly moved towards the podium. This fellow was eager to strike the lecture hall with heavenly lightning, so that she did not have to release her claw. However, this fellow repeated it in his heart 100 times, but he did not receive a single heavenly lightning, so he could only brace himself and release his claw. Chapter 5706 A claw that could conquer the world. The familiar red claw appeared in front of everyone once again. The reason why everyone was familiar with it was because recently, lecturer Ouyang had called Yun Chuzhou to the podium from time to time to release the spirit beast. Looking at the motionless dead claw, He Xinjiu said embarrassedly, Lecturer Ouyang, I may have been frightened again in the Thunder Valley, so. Enough. Yan Qingcheng, I have given you too many chances, and I don't want to listen to you talk about this anymore. The other students were all trying their best to materialize the spiritual beast, but you couldn't even release a complete spiritual beast. Don't you feel ashamed? Lecturer Ouyang said sternly. Hearing Lecturer Ouyang's words, He Xinjia's heart moved. This guy pursed his lips, Lecturer Ouyang, I am so ashamed that I wish I could find a hole to crawl into. But, I have really done my best. I don't know where the problem is, why can I only release a dead claw? But, I have also improved. In the beginning, this claw only had one toe showing signs of materializing. Look, now there are already 2 toes materializing. Looking at it this way, I am still stronger than the others. Lecturer Ouyang choked at first and then slammed the table. You're still trying to argue with me? Even if this claw has materialized, how can one of your claws compare to a complete spiritual beast in a duel? Besides, your claw is still dead. He Xinjiu blinked her eyes. Maybe if I materialize the whole claw, it will be able to move. Moreover, it has an advantage. Other people's spiritual beasts can only attack with their claws and bite, which will waste a lot of spiritual energy. However, my precious claws don't waste any spiritual energy. Moreover, when it attacks, No one can predict how it will attack or which part of its body it will attack. It will definitely be able to win by surprise. All in all, this claw is a good claw. In the future, I will rely on one claw to conquer the world. My reputation will spread everywhere. Lecturer Ouyang was so angry that he was about to puke. This Yan Qingchen was really sharp-tongued. Even a dead person could be talked alive by her. It was clearly a useless dead claw, but in her mouth, it had become invincible. Lecturer Ouyang slammed the table again. Shut up. Alright, since you have said so much, I will give you a chance. If you can make this claw move now, I will give you another month's time. If you can't, you don't have to participate in the year-end exam. When the time comes, you can just drop out of school. He Xinjiu complained in her heart. This dead claw didn't listen to her at all. This chance was no different from not giving it to her. However, this fellow also knew that this was the greatest preferential treatment given to her by the obstinate lecturer Ouyang. This fellow could only nod and say, alright, I'll move it now. Actually, it's not dead. It's just a little lazy. Everyone, please start your performance. He Xinjiu shouted at the red claw, move. Move. There was no response. He Xinjiu gritted her teeth and put her palms together, bowing to the red claw. Please, can you move a little? I'm begging you. There was no response. Everyone booed. It was just a dead claw. He Xinjiu was furious. Who did she offend to summon such a thing? This guy was furious. He pointed at the red claw and cursed, you idiot. Did I give you some face? If you play dead, I'll never let you out again. The red claw still did not move. Chapter 5707 had been hit by a claw. You still dare to show your face? Do you think I can't cure one of your claws? If you don't move a bit today, He Xinjiu, for a long time because she found that she had no way to deal with the red claw. This thing was a spiritual beast. It didn't matter even if it dissipated. Even if I can't do anything to you, I'll scold you 8 times a day. You idiot. You trash. You dead claw. Lecturer Ouyang couldn't take it anymore. Enough. You, He Xinjiu glared at Lecturer Ouyang and roared, shut up. Let me finish scolding you. Lecturer Ouyang was dumbfounded by the roar. He didn't react for a moment and stood rooted to the ground. He Xinjiu had also finished shouting at Lecturer Ouyang. She finally realized what stupid thing she had done. But since she had already shouted, she could only brace herself and continue to curse the red claw. You damned claw. You can't even move, what use do I have for you? You're not even as good as a pig's trotter. At least you can let me take a few bites. You damned claw, you shameless one is red, if you have the ability to turn into all colors. What's the point of having a dead claw like you? Just disperse yourself. You don't want to taint other people's eyes. You damned claw, you deserve to be a single claw. He Xinjiu was cursing until she was foaming at the mouth. The red claw was still perfectly fine, floating there without the slightest change, let alone moving. He Xinjiu wanted to cry, but she had no tears. This fellow said to Lecturer Ouyang in a tearful voice, Lecturer Ouyang, you are right. This broken claw is useless. I am a waste. Sob, sob. Lecturer Ouyang's face was livid. Since your claw did not move, your year-end assessment qualification was. Lecturer Ouyang's words stopped abruptly because the red claw floated in front of the crying He Xinjiu and crashed into her. He Xinjiu was crying vigorously, but she didn't expect the red claw to suddenly crash into her, causing her to be hit in the butt. While she was still in a daze, the red claw began to tremble, and one of its solid toes even provocatively hooked towards Yunchujiu. He Xinjiu. Everyone. He Xinjiu was shocked and furious. This damn claw actually dared to hit her. How dare it provoke her? Did it want to die? Hei Shinjo jumped up and slapped the red claw. Unexpectedly, the red claw changed its usual silly look and nimbly dodged Yun Chujia's attack before flying out of the hall. Hei Shinjo gnashed her teeth in anger and chased after it. You damn claw! Stop right there! Lecturer Ouyang. Everyone. Besides, wasn't that red claw a dead one? How could it be alive? And it even dared to beat up its master, and even provoked him? This was simply a legend in the... Lecturer Ouyang was both angry and shocked. He immediately took a step forward and chased after them. When the students saw that the lecturer had chased after them, they were naturally happy to watch the show. They quickly left the Hall of Teachings. At this moment, Yun Chujo had already chased after the red claw for a long distance. Every time Yun Chujo was about to catch up, the red claw would suddenly increase its speed. Hei Shinjo was so angry that she cursed, "Damn claw! Stop right there! Do you want to die?" Thus, the people of the lower house saw this strange scene. A little girl was chasing after a red claw and running around the lower house. Behind her was Lecturer Ouyang and a group of fire element students. Chapter 5708, You Are De Hua. The chase ended with the exhaustion of the red claw's spiritual energy. Hei Shinjo was so tired that she was gasping for breath. Of course, she was more angry. Was there anyone in this world who had a harder life than her? Gowei Batsao would occupy the magpie's nest from time to time, and De Hua would mysteriously disappear. Now that a red claw was released, it actually dared to play with her. It was really infuriating. This fellow turned his head and saw Lecturer Ouyang following closely behind. His heart moved. Although it was very infuriating that the red claw had caused such a scene, but it had moved. Hence, this fellow laughed dryly. Lecturer Ouyang, look at the red claw that I released. It's alive and very lively. Lecturer Ouyang. Yes, it was lively. To go against his master, it was too lively. Lecturer Ouyang, you said that you would give me another month as long as the claws moved. Now that the claws are so lively, do you want to give me more time? I don't need too much time. What do you think about 3 years? How about 2 years? 1 month. If you still can't release the complete spiritual beast, humph. Lecturer Ouyang flicked his sleeves and left. Although Hei Shinjo was a little disappointed, she still managed to buy another month's time. This guy ignored the other people's gazes and hurried back to his own courtyard. After this guy returned to his courtyard, he once again released his red claws. However, this time, the red claws returned to their previous dead appearance and did not move at all. Hei Shinjo rubbed her chin and pondered. Could it be that this thing deserved to be scolded? However, she had scolded it many times before and did not see any reaction from it. Why did it have a reaction today? This guy recalled the words that he had scolded the red claw, and his eyes suddenly widened. He pointed at the red claw and cursed, "You are a 10,000-year-old single claw." The red claw trembled and crashed towards Hei Shinjo. This time, Hei Shinjo did not let it succeed. She used her spiritual energy barrier to protect herself and said excitedly, "You are De Hua. You are De Hua, that 10,000-year-old single pig?" Hearing that, the red claws hit Yun Chujia's spiritual energy shield even more fiercely, looking exasperated. Hei Shinjo was stunned at first, then she burst into laughter. "So it's really you, De Hua. TSK, I say, De Hua, at least you had a pig body before, why are you only left with 1 claw now? You're really getting worse and worse. TSK, you even changed the color. Could it be that you want to use red to rush your joy and prepare to break the curse of your 10,000-year-old singleness?" The red claw was obviously very angry, shaking like a fallen leaf in the wind. It hit Yun Chujia's spiritual energy shield with even more force, but it was unable to break through Yun Chujia's spiritual energy shield, so it simply stopped moving, as if it was all an illusion of Yun Chujo. Yun Chujo curled her lips. "You want to take Chow away from me? No matter if you're a 10,000-year-old single pig or a 10,000-year-old single claw, you can't escape from my grasp. If you want to cultivate into a physical body as soon as possible, you'd better be sensible. If I tell you to go east, you'll go east. If I tell you to go west, you'll go west. Otherwise, you'll be a claw for the rest of your life. It was unknown whether the red claw was stimulated by Hei Xinjiu or not, but it directly crashed into a big rock in the yard. Boom! The big rock instantly turned into powder, and the red claw also dissipated. Yun Chuzhou snorted coldly. She had quite a temper. There was still time in the future, there were plenty of opportunities to deal with it. However, how did De Hua turn into a claw? Chapter 5709, Sha Mo's mission. While Hei Xinjiu was pondering, Ding Wenru and the other two hurried back. They had come back a long time ago, but today it was their turn to clean up the Hall of Magic. After cleaning up, they hurried back. As soon as the three entered the courtyard, they saw the ground full of dust. Then, they saw that the big rock in the corner of the courtyard was no longer there. They could not help but look dumbfounded. Qin Linglong looked at Hei Xinjiu speechlessly. Qingcheng, your anger is a little too much. Why did you smash that rock so easily? I didn't do it. It was the damn claw that did it, Yun Chuzhou said innocently. Qin Linglong and the other two were speechless. Pervert was indeed a pervert. Even her spiritual beast was a weirdo. It used to be as if it was dead without moving. Now, not only did it bump into its owner, but it also destroyed public property. Ding Wenru shivered. Qingcheng, what's with that claw of yours? It won't kill its master in the future, right? I think you'd better not release it in the future. Otherwise, if it dares to bump into you today, it might kill you one day. Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou originally wanted to use her claws to ask about De Hua. Now that Ding Wenru and the other two had returned, she couldn't ask anymore. However, this fellow couldn't stay idle. Thinking of the Sha Mo in her spirit beast pouch, she used her spiritual sense to ask, Hey, are you used to living in the spirit beast pouch? Look at how kind I am. I'm afraid that you'll be lonely and cold, so I'll let my silly cuties accompany you. Sha Mo, who was beaten up 8 times a day. Stinky girl. A gentleman can be killed but not humiliated. If you have the ability, kill me. Sha Mo cursed through gritted teeth. He wanted to self-detonate, but inside the spirit beast pouch, he had turned into his current ghastly appearance. He simply did not have the ability to self-detonate. Moreover, he had to be beaten up by those beasts every day. It was simply a life worse than death. If he could turn back time, he would have strangled this wretched girl to death at that time. He, Sha Mo Yi, was also an overlord of a region, but now he had fallen to such a state. It was simply a life worse than death. Yun Chuzhou laughed lightly. You want to die? That's not difficult. You answer a few questions for me. If your attitude is correct, I will let you out and give you the freedom to die. How about it? Is what you said true? Sha Mo asked with doubt. Of course it's true. You're a demon. Even if I put you in a spirit beast pouch, it's still a hidden danger. If someone finds out, I won't have a way to live. So, after thinking about it, I think it's better to kill you. Yun Chuzhou said somewhat helplessly. Sha Mo felt that what Yun Chuzhou said made sense. Moreover, he really couldn't stand this inhuman torture anymore. He immediately said, Okay, you ask. You said that you would return to the demon continent after completing the mission. What mission do you want to complete? Yun Chuzhou asked. Sha Mo hesitated for a moment and said, It's nothing. I just want to gather the people who were reborn or survived and return to the demon continent together. Yun Chuzhou snorted coldly, Old fool, do you think PM as stupid as you? If you don't tell the truth, I can only let Butt-Face and the others wake you up. Butt-Face immediately said eagerly, That's right. As long as the little fairy gives the order, it'll let you know what it means to be possessed. Sha Mo was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he was helpless. Finally, he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. I want to find someone. Yun Chujo immediately became spirited. Who is it? Chapter 57:10, You are a man of your word anyway, PM looking for someone. As for who it is, it has nothing to do with you. I won't tell you. No matter how much you threaten me, I won't tell you. Sha Mo snorted coldly. But Face immediately said, You old fool, are you itching for a beating again? Are you looking for a beating? Yun Chujo stopped Butt Face. If she pushed him too hard, it might backfire. Alright, since you insist on not saying it, I won't continue asking this question. You said that you would return to the Demon Race continent after completing the mission. Could it be that the God Enlightenment continent is connected to the Demon Race continent through a tunnel? Sha Mo didn't have any objection to this question, although the tunnels between the Human Race continent and the Demon Race continent were completely destroyed, some of them weren't completely destroyed. As long as they were slightly repaired, they could be used. Little girl, since you can swap with my master and servant, it means that you are not a human. If that's the case, why do you have to make things difficult? I'll tell you the truth. Since the God race has been destroyed, the demon race has become the most noble race in the world. Sooner or later, the demon race will unify all the continents. If you let me go now and break the contract with my demon god, I will let bygones be bygones for everything you have done. After all, you have also saved me. What do you think? Yun Chujo did not say a word. After a while, she said, What you said makes sense. But I cannot save you for nothing, right? But you are now a poor man. You have nothing good to thank me with, so it's better to forget about it. Hearing that, Sha Mo immediately said, Although they took all my things when they imprisoned me, I have collected a lot of lightning strike stones over the years. Even though I used a lot of them to abduct demon beasts, I still have some. I'll give you these lightning strike stones. Can you let me go? Lightning strike stones? I'm not particularly interested in them, but I don't think you have any other good things. How many do you have? Yun Chujo said disinterestedly. I have about 40,000 to 50,000. Don't worry. As long as you let me go, I'll find other treasures to repay you. Sha Mo sneered in his heart. No matter what, he had to obtain freedom first before he could kill this little girl. 40,000 to 50,000? That's indeed not much. Forget it. I'll treat it as a good relationship. If your demon race conquers the Divine Enlightenment continent, I can still survive. Yun Chujo sighed. Sha Mo was overjoyed. If that's the case, let me go and break the demon god's contract with me. Okay. Tell me the method to break the demon god's contract first. I'll think of a. Sha Mo did not suspect him and immediately told Yun Chujo the method to break the demon god's contract. Yun Chujo really found an excuse to send Ding Wenru and the other two out of the dormitory. Yun Chujo then let Sha Mo out and said, Money in one hand and goods in the other. Give me the lightning strike stone, and PLL break the demon god's contract immediately. Sha Mo thought that he would be free soon, so he did not care much and immediately gave Yun Chujo a pile of lightning strike stones. After that, there was no after. Sha Mo, who had been put back into his spiritual beast pouch, said anxiously, Hey, why did you take me back? You haven't broken the demonic god's contract. Yun Chujo said with a smile, Old fool, why don't you learn your lesson? Break the demonic god's contract. Do you want to kill me after breaking it? You idiot. Sha Mo was so angry that he almost died. Stupid girl. You broke your promise. You're shameless. You're heartless. You're courting death. Sha Mo was so angry that he couldn't even speak properly. The person chapter 5711 was looking for was Yun Chujia's smile became even brighter. Old fool, this is not my fault. It's your fault for not telling me who the person you're looking for is. How about this, you tell me who the person you're looking for is, and I will break the demonic god's contract with you. If Sha-Mo believed her, then it would be a ghost. Sha-Mo said exasperatedly, damned girl, good, very good. This is the first time that I, Sha-Mo Yi, have been bullied to this extent. Don't fall into my hands, or I will make you wish you were dead. As soon as he said that, he felt a sharp pain in his spiritual sense, which made him writhe in pain. Old fool, don't forget that you are my servant now. If you make me unhappy again, I will make you a real fool. Sha-Mo was full of hatred and regret, but he could do nothing about it. He felt even more hopeless than when he was trapped in the universe arcane realm. Old fool, why don't you tell me who you're looking for and I'll help you look for him? He Shinjo said with a smile, like a wolf with a big tail. Sha-Mo gnashed his teeth and said, the person I'm looking for is you. I'll skin you and shave your bones. You bunch of animals. I won't forgive you. Yun Chujo looked at Sha-Mo who had been beaten up by Buttface and the others. She pursed her lips and cut off the connection with Sha-Mo's spiritual sense. She happily counted the lightning strike stones that had just entered her account. TSK, she was rich. During the previous experiential learning, everyone had only found more than 30,000 lightning strike stones. She did not expect to get so many lightning strike stones from Sha-Mo all of a sudden. However, when this fellow thought about the 3 foodies in his dantian and the fact that he still had to raise Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu, he suddenly felt that these lightning strike stones weren't enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Sigh, it would have been fine if he had been struck by lightning. Why was Wu Yun of the Divine Enlightenment continent so lazy? Didn't he know that she, a scourge that wasn't tolerated by the heavenly Tao, was here? Why didn't he come and strike her? Didn't he know that she had raised a demon? Why didn't he come and carry out the heavenly Tao? Just as this fellow was thinking, he felt the ground tremble. Although it wasn't too intense, he could clearly feel it. Heavens, could it be that the Earth Dragon had turned over? At the same time, the other 9 islands of the 10-sided waterside pavilion also felt the ground tremble. Upper House Waterside Pavilion, Back Mountain. It seems that the strange phenomenon last time has come true. Tao Tai's seal has indeed loosened. The tall old man sighed. Logically speaking, if the strange phenomenon last time came true, why did Tao Tai not have any strange movement last time? Why did it suddenly go crazy now? Could it be that it was stimulated by something? The slightly shorter old man said in puzzlement. It was sealed at the bottom of the lake, so what kind of stimulation could it have? I guess the extent of the loosening of the seal last time was relatively small, so it didn't have any reaction. Sigh, although Tao Tai is terrifying, what's even more terrifying is the disaster predicted in the prophecy. What kind of terrifying disaster could make all things in the world disappear? There are demons appearing in the Thunder Valley, and now Tao Tai is making strange movements. I'm afraid the disaster is really not far away. The tall old man had a worried expression. You don't have to be so worried. Don't you have the last 4 sentences? Since Tao Tai's seal has been loosened, the last 4 sentences will come true. Someone will come out of nowhere to resolve this disaster. The short old man was obviously more optimistic. I hope so. I don't know what kind of otherworldly expert this savior is and where he is now. The tall old man sighed. Chapter 57:12. The miserable Tao Wu room in the distance, several bolts of lightning struck towards the misty lake. The 2 elders did not show any surprise. It was normal for the heavenly lightning to strike when Tao Tai was acting strangely. The heavenly lightning did not really want to strike Tao Tai. It was just a deterrent effect to prevent Tao Tai from breaking the seal and coming out. At the same time, Hei Shinjo on the other side was overjoyed. This fellow was originally worried about whether the Earth Dragon would turn over, but he saw the gathering of dark clouds in the distance, as if there was going to be a heavenly lightning strike. This fellow was about to burst into laughter. My little darling, she really could not help but mutter. She had just muttered a few words, and this Wu Yun came to strike her. It was really just in time. This fellow stretched her neck and waited happily for the lightning to strike her. The heavenly lightning came, but it struck in the direction of the misty lake instead of striking her. This fellow was instantly dumbfounded. It didn't make sense. Was this Wu Yun blind? She was a living person here, why did she go to the misty lake to be struck? She wanted to run to the misty lake to be struck, but by the time she ran over, the daylily was already cold. Moreover, she could not enter or leave the lower house as she pleased, and she could not leave either. What should she do? She could only watch helplessly as the heavenly lightning failed to strike her. This was simply too damn depressing. This fellow rolled his eyes, pointed at the sky, and cursed, "God damn it. You turtle bastard. If you have the ability, come and strike me. Tian Dao, didn't you want to kill me? Come on. PM right here, come and strike me. What? Are you afraid of me? Did you accept your fate because you found out that you can't kill me?" This guy cursed for a long time, but he still couldn't summon Wu Yun over. He was anxious. At this moment, But Face said from the spirit beast bag, "Little fairy, try releasing Tao Wu. It will definitely be struck by lightning once it appears." Yun Chujiu thought that this was a solution. Although releasing Tao Wu might consume some of its soul power, she had raised it for so long, so it wouldn't be too much to let it contribute to her. Moreover, it had been a long time since she released Tao Wu, so she did not know how its cultivation was going. Yun Chujiu immediately ran into the house and took out the ancient jade bottle containing the remnant soul of Tao Wu. She opened the cork and released Tao Wu. Tao Wu said in a muffled voice, "I have not cultivated to a physical body yet, why did you let me out? If it was not in a special environment, I would have consumed a lot of soul power once I came out." Yun Chujiu giggled. Lightning strike. Tao, doesn't your conscience hurt when you do this? He Xinjiu did not pay attention to Tao Wu, who looked miserable. This guy jumped into the yard and stretched his neck to look at the sky. Seeing that Wu Yun was really floating over, this guy laughed so hard that he could not close his mouth. Today was really a good day. As for how to deal with the aftermath of being struck by lightning, he had already put it to the back of his mind. Nothing was more important than being struck by lightning. Wu Yun, who was flying towards him, was actually a little conflicted. He originally wanted to suppress Tao Tai, but he actually discovered the remnant soul aura of an ancient fierce beast here. Since he had discovered it, he naturally could not sit idly by. He was a good and conscientious Wu Yun. Wu Yun soon floated above Yun Chuji's courtyard. Of course, its area was very big, so it couldn't only cover Yun Chuji's courtyard. The nearby courtyards were all covered by it. It was daytime now, so many people were not in the dormitory. Even if there were a few people, they were scared and ran out of the courtyard when they saw the dark clouds. Chapter 57:13 was too scary. He Xinjiu had already put Tao Wu back into the ancient jade bottle. He looked at Wu Yun in the sky with a smile and hooked his little finger. "Little fool, come and strike me." Where was Tao Wu? Why was there such a stupid girl who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Heavenly Thunder's spiritual root? Humph, she was really courting death. Initially, she didn't realize that there was another heavenly lightning spirit root here. Since she was courting death, then let her have it. Wu Yun fiercely struck a bolt of heavenly lightning at Yun Chujiu and sneered in his heart. This bolt of heavenly lightning would be able to strike this weak chick until she was half dead. Let's see how she can continue to show off. An hour later, Wu Yun flew away in exasperation. Fuck, pervert. This wretched girl was actually a pervert. No wonder Tian Dao did not send them over to strike her. This pervert could not be killed at all. He Xinjiu looked at Wu Yun, who was far away, and pursed her lips. This Wu Yun did not carry much lightning power. Her hair was not even burnt by the strike. What a waste. There were too many people and too many eyes. It was really not easy to strike her. Otherwise, she would just hook a cloud wing and play with it. However, the most important thing now was that she had to think of an excuse to cover up the matter in front of her. It was better not to expose her identity. A moment later, President He and the others rushed over. When they saw the large and small deep holes in the courtyard, they were all shocked. The 10 Directions Academy was rarely struck by lightning, not to mention this kind of long-term heavenly lightning. Why would the heavenly lightning strike here? At this moment, a scream came from inside the house, "Help! Help! Help!" Everyone's expression changed and they rushed into the house immediately. They saw a little girl shivering in the corner, constantly shouting for help. If it wasn't Yan Qingcheng, then who was it? Ding Wenru, who had squeezed in with the crowd, immediately rushed over. Qingcheng, what happened to you? Are you okay? Yun Chuzhou opened her eyes with a face full of fear. Heavenly lightning, heavenly lightning. It's too scary. Save me. Ding Wenru's mouth twitched in her heart. Just keep pretending. However, she comforted her with her mouth. Qingcheng, it's all right. The heavenly lightning has stopped. Look, President He and the department head are here. You'll be fine. Yun Chuzhou looked around in a daze and immediately sobbed. It's too scary. The heavenly lightning is too scary. It scared me to death. Yan Qingcheng, what's going on? President He asked with a sullen face. President, didn't I chase after my spiritua? So when I returned to the dormitory, I was a little tired and fell asleep in a daze. Then, I heard a loud sound. I leaned against the crack of the door and saw that the heavenly lightning that was as thick as a bucket had struck the courtyard. Woo woo, it almost scared me to death. I wanted to run, but I was afraid of being accidentally injured by the heavenly lightning, so I hid in the house. I thought that it would be over after a few strikes, but who would have thought that the heavenly lightning would keep striking? It was too scary. Woo woo, it scared me to death. Dean, I want to change my dormitory. I don't want to live here. There must be something under the ground that can be struck by lightning. Woo woo, it's too scary. Hei Xinjiu sobbed as she spoke while trembling. The speaker, unintentional, seemed to be interested. President He and the others immediately looked at each other. Could it be that there really was something strange under the courtyard? President He pondered for a moment. Sect Master Zhen asked the students nearby to move to other dormitories and seal this place completely. Sect Master Zhen's expression was solemn. He knew that this was an extraordinary matter, so he naturally wouldn't neglect it and immediately made arrangements. Chapter 57:14 Good Cabbages. Hei Xinjiu, who had been scared quite a bit, said in a tearful voice, Sect Master, you must arrange my dormitory to be further away from here. PM already traumatized. It's too scary. No one was suspicious of her reaction. Even a student with a thunder spirit root would be frightened by such a rare long-term lightning bolt, not to mention that she only had a fire spirit root and her cultivation was still low. Soon, Sect Master Zhen arranged a new dormitory for Yun Chuzhou and the others. Ding Wenru looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was crying so hard that her face was covered in flowers. She pouted and said, all right, stop pretending. Hurry up and wash your face. Hei Xinjiu pouted and said, I was really scared. It was too scary. I was scared to death. Ding Wenru and the other two twitched their lips. They would never believe you. The reason why they were sent out on purpose was probably to get struck by lightning. On the other side, under the misdirection of Hei Xinjiu, President He and the others dug several feet deep into the courtyard. They also found a lecturer who was proficient in array formations to investigate. After a few days of searching, they found nothing. This matter became an unsolved case. Hei Xinjiu had been in high spirits recently. Her spiritual power level had already reached the 5th level of the divine revelation realm. Moreover, Because she had extorted a lot of lightning stones, her daily cultivation was not a problem for the time being. It was simply wonderful. Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, she was just a piece of trash at the 9th level of the spirit extinguisher realm. That night, Hei Shinjo flirted with a certain venerable every day. Brother Beiyu, I dreamed of you yesterday. You took off your clothes to seduce me. It's really indescribable. A moment later, the voice transmission talisman trembled, and a certain venerable's cold voice came from it. It was indeed a dream. Hey Shinjo. Do you know that you will lose your baby if you talk like this? This guy shamelessly flirted with her a few more times, and a certain one occasionally replied, but it was not more than 2 words. Humph. Brother Beiyu, you are too stingy with your words. I won't talk to you anymore. Hei Shinjo said angrily. Usually, a certain one would not reply to her at this time, but this time, he replied for the first time, sad face, I will go out to complete the academy's mission the day after tomorrow. Perhaps the voice transmission talisman will be ineffective. You don't have to send me a voice transmission talisman for the time being. Yun Chujo was stunned. This fellow immediately recalled the scene of Xiao Yanxiao giving Di Baiming the pills. At that time, Xiao Yanxiao. Hei Shinjo immediately asked sourly, going out on a mission? It can't be with that little bitch Xiao Yanxiao, right? Yes, there are others. It's not just me and her. A certain someone originally only wanted to reply with a yes, but after thinking for a while, he still explained. Hei Xinjia's heart became even more sour when she heard that. Although there were others, Xiao Yanxiao clearly had bad intentions towards the gigolo. What if there was a tyrant, a king, a hard, a bao, in the wilderness? Wouldn't the pretty boy, this good cabbage, be taken by a pig? This guy wanted to stop it, but since it was a mission arranged by the academy, she couldn't stop it. This guy's good mood immediately fell to the bottom. If the pretty boy didn't change his identity, she wouldn't be worried, because the pretty boy wouldn't give those flirtatious bitches a chance. However, now that the pretty boy wanted to maintain the image of Beiyu, there were some things that couldn't be done too far. That Xiao Yanxiao would do anything, and she might let her get her way. Hei Shinjo did not sleep well that night either. She felt extremely uncomfortable. The cabbages were about to be eaten by pigs, how could she still sleep? Chapter 57:15, Idea. Hei Shinjo thought about it, but she found that she was powerless. If the gigolo was in the lower house, or if she was in the upper house, she could think of a way to go with him. But now, they were separated by 2 houses, and there was a middle house in the middle, so she couldn't interfere no matter what. Ding Wenru saw her drooping head and asked with concern, Qingcheng, what's wrong? Sigh, my cabbage is going to be eaten by a pig. I'm so worried. Hei Shinjo sighed. Ding Wenru was dumbfounded. What the hell? What cabbage? What pig? Are you talking nonsense? Hei Shinjo pouted and said, my brother Beiyu is going to follow that little bitch, Xiao Yanxiao, on a mission. Do you think I won't worry? Ding Wenru was speechless. Isn't it normal to go out on a mission? Besides, Beiyu's estranged aura means that even if Xiao Yanxiao has evil intentions, she won't succeed. What do you have to worry about? Hei Shinjo shook her head. The last time she tried to burn me to death in the underground fire cellar for brother Beiyu, it means that she has gone mad with him. Who knows, she might do something shameless. My brother Beiyu is so simple-minded, I really can't put my heart at ease. Ding Wenru curled her lips. After saying so much, she was just jealous. If Beiyu was so easily schemed against, would such a good cabbages be her turn? Of course, she did not dare to say these words out loud, so she just agreed perfunctorily. The worry on Hei Xinjia's face grew even more. Tell me, how can I stop? Ding Wenru replied, it would be great if they can't come out for the mission. However, we are only auditing students of the lower house, so we can't control them. Upon hearing that, Hei Shinjo rolled her eyes and had an idea. The guy immediately took out a basket of spiritual fruits and stuffed it into Ding Wenru's hands with a big smile. Sister Ding, you are really my lucky star. Ding Wenru. Did she say something amazing? This little devil's face would turn from glum to elated. Could she have gone mad? The next morning, in the upper house, Xiao Lianxiao got up early and began to dress up. When she appeared in front of everyone, she immediately attracted the adoring gazes of several male students. Especially Ji Lingfeng, his eyes were filled with adoration. Junior sister Lianxiao, today I truly understand what it means to be a country-toppling beauty, and what it means to be peerlessly beautiful. Although Xiao Lianqiao's mind was on Beiyu, she still enjoyed the feeling of being praised by others. She said a few words modestly, but her face was filled with pride. At this moment, she saw Beiyu walking over and immediately took 2 steps forward to greet him. Beiyu, you're here. Beiyu lightly acknowledged her, but his gaze did not fall on her at all. Xiao Lianxiao could not help but feel a little disappointed. She had already forgotten about the time when he had helped that bitch Yan Qingqing slap her, and he actually did not even look at her. But it did not matter. When they reached the mission location, she would use a little trick to make him submit. If he took her innocence, even if he wanted to deny it, he would not be able to. As for that Yan Qingqing, HMPH, she dared to snatch her man away from Xiao Lianxiao, only death awaited her. Ji Lingfeng saw that Xiao Lianqiao's gaze was glued to Beiyu, and his expression instantly turned ugly. He sneered, Beiyu, why are you so late? You really have no manners. Beiyu looked at him indifferently, the gathering time is the hour, PM not late. Chapter 57:16 was definitely Xiao Jiu's doing. Ji Lingfeng choked and said exasperatedly, even though the departure time is 2 o'clock, Director Xiaofu has already arrived, yet you only just arrived. Do you still have reason? Without waiting for Beiyu to speak, Xiao Lianxiao glared at Ji Lingfeng. What's being late if it's not past the gathering time? Director Xiaofu didn't even say anything. What are you blabbering about? Ji Lingfeng was so angry that he almost vomited blood. What was so good about this Beiyu that Xiao Lianxiao would protect him like this? He was really hateful. Since he had blocked his path, then during this experiential learning, he should send him on his way so that he wouldn't be an eyesore. At this moment, Director Xiaofu said indifferently, since everyone is here, let's set off. Because of the incident in Thunder Valley last time, because He Xinjiu had complained, Director Xiaofu was taken advantage of by Director Hu of the Spirit Energy Branch to reduce a few of his positions. He was rather angry. Because of the relationship between Beiyu and Yan Qingqing, Director Xiaofu did not like Beiyu. However, Xiao Lianxiao begged him, so he accepted the task of leading the team. Director Xiaofu led a group of people out of the upper academy. Before they reached the dock, they saw a huge wave in the distance, followed by an earth-shaking beast roar. Director Xiaofu turned pale with fright and shouted, not good. It's a beast tide. Quickly, you guys retreat back to the academy. PLL arranged the defense. Xiao Lianxiao and the others' faces instantly turned pale. Didn't there just happen to be a beast tide a few days ago? Why was there another beast tide? Recently, there was a beast tide and lightning strikes. What happened to the 10 Directions Academy? Beiye's expression was as indifferent as ever, but he was speechless in his heart. This must be little Jiu's doing. No wonder he kept asking him what time he was leaving today. It turned out that he had such an idea. But it was also good. He originally didn't want to carry out any mission. He immediately turned around and left without the slightest hesitation. Ji Lingfeng coldly snorted, did you see that? Beiyu, this coward, when he saw the beast tide, he only knew to take care of himself. He also didn't know to take care of the others. Junior sister Lianxiao, you don't have to be afraid. I'll protect you when you return to the upper house. Xiao Lianxiao ignored him. She took 2 steps forward and caught up with Beiyu, since there's no way for me to go out on a mission today, why don't you help me solve some of my cultivation problems? Bei Yu stopped in his tracks. His indifferent gaze finally landed on Xiao Lianxiao. Xiao Lianqiao's heart immediately rejoiced. It seemed that her meticulous dressing today was still effective. She said that regardless of family background or appearance, she was 100 times stronger than that Yan Qingcheng. There was no reason for Bei Yu to abandon her and choose that Yan Qingcheng. Boom! Xiao Lianxiao was shocked. She looked up and saw that the few boulders that were scattered on the side had turned into dust. Bei Yu said coldly, "I'm warning you for the last time. I already have someone I like. If you continue to pester me, those boulders will end up like you." After Bei Yu finished speaking, he turned around and left. Xiao Lianxiao was embarrassed, angry, and hateful. However, the person she hated was Yun Chuzhou. It was all because of this bitch, Yan Qingcheng. If she hadn't shamelessly bewitched Bei Yu, why would Bei Yu treat her like this? This bitch really deserved to die. He Xinjiu, who was hated to death by Xiao Lianxiao, was currently sending a voice transmission talisman to Bei Yu in the Dharma Hall. Although the beast tide was coming, with the experience from last time, after a moment of panic, lecturer Ouyang continued to teach everyone. "Brother Bei Yu, I heard that there's a beast tide. Woo-woo, the roars of those sea beasts are too scary, my little heart almost jumped out of my chest." "Oh right, there's a beast tide. Are you guys unable to go out on missions as scheduled?" Chapter 57-17 No wife, no husband. Hearing the message of He Xinjiu in the voice transmission note, the corner of his eye twitched for a moment. "I'm afraid the last sentence is the key, right?" He smiled a little. "Well, the mission should be temporarily cancelled." On the other side, He Xinjiu laughed sinisterly and replied, "Brother Bei Yu, don't be disappointed. It's good to cultivate in the academy." Just as she was feeling proud, lecturer Ouyang caught sight of her. Lecturer Ouyang saw the sinister smile on her face and immediately frowned. "Yan Qingcheng, what are you laughing at? Do you think something is wrong with what I said? Don't you know the immensity of heaven and earth because you can move your claws? Come up and let your claws out." He Xinjiu. This fellow cursed silently in her heart. Can't she talk about her spiritual beast? Must she talk about her claws? She didn't have that kind of thing. Even though she cursed, this fellow still dawdled up to the podium and let out her red claws. Then, He Xinjiu was stunned. Lecturer Ouyang and the others were also stunned. They saw that the red claws had actually materialized another toe. Wasn't the materialization speed too heaven-defying? Didn't it materialize 2 toes just a few days ago? In just a few short days, it had materialized another toe. Just as everyone was astonished, the remaining 2 toes had also rapidly materialized. After a moment of dead silence, He Xinjiu said happily, "Lecturer Ouyang, how is it? I told you that my claw is extraordinary. The materialization speed can be said to be unprecedented, right? I believe that it won't be long before this claw of mine will become famous throughout the entire divine enlightenment continent and become a legend of a generation. I've decided to call it the invincible and heaven-defying big red claw from now on. What do you think?" Lecturer Ouyang took a deep breath. Although the combat power will be much stronger after materialization, it will also vary according to the beast. This is just a claw of yours. Even if it materializes completely, it won't have as much potential as other spirit beasts. Arrogance is the most taboo in the path of cultivation. Take care of yourself. Go down. He Xinjiu pursed her lips in her heart. Not have as much potential as other spirit beasts. She was a 10,000-year-old single pig. Although she did not know why she only had 1 claw now, it would definitely be awesome in the future. Just as this fellow was cursing in his heart, that red claw was charging towards her at lightning speed. He Xinjiu was hit by the claw and immediately became furious. She didn't scold it this time. Could it be that she couldn't do it even if she thought about it? "You dumbass. You're a 10,000-year-old single claw. You're destined to be alone for Eve. You're a single dog. You deserve to be a bachelor for your whole life. You don't know how to show mercy to the fairer sex. The red claw was so angry that it was shivering. It crashed toward Yunchujo again. Hei Shinjo immediately took out little slut number 1 and slashed at the red claw. You want to kill your master? Do you want to die? If I don't beat you to death today, my name will not be Yan Qingcheng. Ding Wenru thought to herself, your name is not Yan Qingcheng in the first place. Seeing that it could not take advantage of her, the red claw hooked its toes at Hei Shinjo and ran out of the Hall of Dharma. Hei Shinjo chased after her with the sword in her hand. You damned claw. Stop right there. I don't think you're the invincible, heaven-defying red claw at all. You're the lone claw of a man without a wife. The red claw suddenly stopped flying and turned around to crash into Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo quickly swung her sword to slash at it, but the red claw avoided it at a tricky angle. Chapter 57:18, Hair pulling after the red claw dodged Yunchujia's sword, it pounced on Hei Xinjia's head. Then, it began to pull Hei Xinjia's hair, pulling it down one by one. Hei Shinjo was about to explode when she saw the falling hair. Do you want to die? You're a 10,000-year-old single claw. You can't find a wife and you want to make me bald. You're shameless. However, the red claw was lying on Hei Xinjia's head. Even if Hei Shinjo wanted to attack it, it would not be easy. It might even injure itself. Lecturer Ouyang and the others were dumbfounded. Oh God! Were these two pets or enemies? Why was their hair pulled? The Gowei Batsao in Hei Xinjia's dantian shook its leaves. TSK, didn't it always talk about that stupid pig in the past? Great, now you know who is her little cutie, right? Although it would occasionally occupy the magpie's nest, at least it didn't know how to pull its hair. Compared to this stupid pig, it was simply an obedient baby. Hei Shinjo was so angry that she was twitching. She had no choice but to ask Lecturer Ouyang for help. Lecturer Ouyang, don't just watch. Quickly get rid of this damn claw. Otherwise, it'll become bald. Lecturer Ouyang was both angry and amused. He struck the red claw with his palm, and only then did the red claw disappear. Hei Shinjo looked at the hair on the ground in heartache, took out a mirror, and looked at it. She gnashed her teeth and said, my peerless beauty has been ruined by that damn claw. The guy had wanted to say that it was the 10,000-year-old single claw, but he swallowed his words. A wise man would never be at a disadvantage in front of his eyes. That damn claw was a bit weird, so it was better not to provoke it for the time being. Didn't you say that your spiritual beast was invincible in the world? Why did it pull your hair? Lecturer Ouyang glared fiercely at Hei Shinjo. A good spiritual beast tied did not ruin a good lesson, but it was ruined by this Yan Qingcheng. Yun Chujo said embarrassedly, Lecturer Ouyang, every powerful thing has a little temper. This claw of mine is no exception. I will think of a way to make it obedient. Lecturer Ouyang snorted coldly and punished Yun Chujo to clean the Hall of Dharma for 3 days. Other than that, he did not say anything else. Because he also felt that this red claw seemed to be a little unusual. Putting aside the speed of materialization, just the flexibility of the fight with Yan Qingcheng just now had surpassed many spirit beasts. Perhaps it was really not simple. Moreover, the beast's tide had not completely subsided. He was also a little worried and wanted to leave the lower house to take a look. After the crowd dispersed, Ding Wenru and the other two accompanied Hei Shinjo back to the training hall to clean up. Ding Wenru moved closer to Hei Shinjo and asked softly, Qingcheng, if I remember correctly, today is the day Bei Yu and the others went on a mission, right? Now that there's a beast tide, they definitely won't be able to go. Even the heavens are helping you. Hei Shinjo bared her little white teeth. That's right. Tian Dao likes me the most. I told him to head east, but he didn't dare head west. I told him to beat up dogs, but he didn't dare to chase chickens. Ding Wenru. She was talking about this guy who could shine under the sun. She didn't link the beast-tied incident to Heishinjo. After all, it was too unbelievable and was beyond her understanding. After Heishinjo finished cleaning, she didn't return to the dormitory. Instead, she ran to the self-examination workshop. Her hair wasn't white. If she didn't let the Red Claws kneel down and kowtow to her today, her name wouldn't be Yen Qingcheng. Chapter 57:19. You have to face reality. Ever since Heishinjo became the leader of the Fire Element's law enforcement team, there were basically no more students who were punished to boil salt. The self-examination square had already become Heizinjia's private venue. Everyone was furious but did not dare to voice their anger. This was because once someone raised an objection, Heishinjo would find an excuse to punish them and come in to boil salt. Who would find trouble for themselves? Therefore, no one mentioned this matter anymore. Heishinjo entered the self-examination workshop, closed the door, and went into the house that boiled salt. After closing the door, she took out the mirror and looked at it. She cursed in her heart. Fortunately, her hair was thicker. Otherwise, she would definitely be scratched until she was bald by De Hua's damn claws. Thinking of this, the guy suddenly became angry. He put up the spiritual energy barrier and released his red claws. The red claws trembled and hooked their toes at Heishinjo, looking very smug. Heishinjo narrowed her eyes and snorted, "De Hua, well done. You are quite promising, aren't you? You dare to go against me, aren't you? You even dare to pull my hair. You really want to die, don't you?" The red claw shook indifferently and snapped its fingers with 2 toes. Yun Chujo was furious. This shameless single pig actually snapped his fingers. He really deserved a beating. The red claw may have sensed Heizinjia's thoughts, and the word single pig angered it again. It immediately rushed towards Heizinjia's spiritual energy shield. Heishinjo came prepared this time. The red claw could not break the spiritual energy shield even after a few hits. Heishinjo sneered, "De Hua, no wonder you transformed into a pig before. You are really a pig brain. You are going against me. You don't want to think about it, do you?" The red claw stopped moving, as if waiting for Heishinjo to continue. "Although I don't know why you turned into a claw, it's obvious that you have to rely on me if you want to obtain all of your body. You also know that apart from you, I have Goei Batsao. Its combat ability is at least 100 times stronger than your current ghastly appearance. Moreover, it's obedient. I can totally not let you out." When the Goei Batsao in her dantian heard Heizinjia's praise, it almost flew away. "Did you see that? Did you see that?" The road was far, but the horsepower was far away. As time went by, she finally knew who her little cutie was. Yun Chujo continued, "If I don't let you out, let's not talk about whether you can condense a physical body or not. Even if you can, you will never see the lie. Moreover, was I wrong in scolding you? Aren't you the one who has been single for 10,000 years? Aren't you the one who has no wife? Man, no, beast, you have to face reality. You are single now, and you don't have a wife. Don't you allow others to say that. You have to learn from other fierce beasts. Look at Buttface. The majestic fierce beast transformed into a puppy. Isn't he also carefree and happy? Look at Hun Dun. Isn't he happy wearing a green sweater all day? Your mental endurance is too weak. If you don't have a wife, just find a wife. Why are you in such a hurry with me? Am I the reason why you can't get a wife?" When Yun Chujo said this, she strangely felt a strong resentment coming from her spiritual sense. This fellow touched his nose guiltily. Could it really be related to her? Was it the sins of her previous life again? Chapter 57:20 was an honor. Heishinjo laughed dryly. "Well, let's turn the page first. In the future, as long as you are obedient, I won't poke at your sore spot. How about that?" The red claw did not respond. It was unknown whether it would agree or not. Hei Xinzhou took it as a yes. After all, from what she knew of her great achievements in her previous life, it was very likely that she had really done something immoral. It was better not to continue this conversation. This fellow scattered the red claws with one palm and then left the self-examination square. This time, she only let the Gowei Batsao emit a short fragrance. Therefore, the beast tide was not large, and the sea beasts quickly withdrew. Even so, for the sake of insurance, the 10 Directions Academy still issued a ban. For a short period of time, they were not allowed to leave the island. Hei Xinzhou was delighted. At least for the time being, she did not have to worry about the cabbages being eaten by pigs. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. What Hei Xinzhou released was still the red claw. The difference was that the upper part of the red claw had solidified. If one did not know that this was Hei Xinjia's spiritual beast, one would think that it was really a claw. However, no one had ever seen a similar spiritual beast claw. What kind of claw was this? Lecturer Ouyang did not mention Yunchujia's disqualification if she could not release the entire spiritual beast, because he vaguely felt that Yunchujia's claw was somewhat unusual. Seeing that Lecturer Ouyang did not mention it, Hei Xinzhou was naturally happy to play dumb. She felt that the old man, Lecturer Ouyang, was not bad. What this fellow was worried about now was how to enter the upper house directly after the big examination. If he entered the middle house, wouldn't that waste at least half a year's time? What if the cabbage was eaten by pigs during this half a year's time? Thus, this fellow jumped into President He's study. President, I want to enter the upper house. Do you have any ideas? President He looked at her speechlessly. This little girl was talking nonsense, right? Enter the upper house. With her aptitude, it would be good enough if she didn't get expelled. Enter the upper house. How dare she think about it? Yan Qingcheng, you must be steadfast in your cultivation. Don't overestimate yourself and don't let your imagination run wild. Do you understand? President He said with a gloomy face. Hei Xinzhou nodded with a smile. President, you have to have a dream. What if it comes true? Forget it. I guess you are the president of the lower house and don't know much about the upper house. I'd better ask someone else. President He immediately snorted, I don't know. What can the 10 Directions Academy hide from me? If you wanted to enter the upper house directly from the lower house, it was not impossible. Bei Yu was an example. If you were able to obtain first place in the exam and obtain more than 1,000 points compared to the second place, you would be able to enter the upper house directly. I advise you to give up on this idea. Bei Yu is extremely talented and cannot be compared to ordinary people. I heard that although Bei Yu is a new student, his cultivation has improved very quickly. He has already crushed most of the students from the spiritual energy department. Yun Chuzhou did not get angry when she heard this. Instead, she nodded with pride. That's true. Why don't you take a look at whose sweetheart he is? My Yan Qingcheng's sweetheart is naturally the most outstanding. President He had forgotten about this. Bei Yu's good cabbage had been taken by this little girl. This little girl probably wanted to enter the upper academy because she wanted to be together with Bei Yu. However, this was too unrealistic. It was simply wishful thinking. Chapter 57-21 Examination. President He, if I score 1,000 points higher than the second place, can I really enter the upper academy? Are you not lying to me? Hei Xinzhou blinked her eyes and asked. Of course it's true. This has always been the rule of the academy. However, before Bei Yu, almost no one could do it. After all, the students in the academy are all favored by the heavens. It's very difficult for there to be such a big difference. Yan Qingcheng, although your talent is not good, as long as you work hard, you should not be eliminated in this exam. Don't think about irrelevant things, understand? President He advised earnestly. He did not like Yun Chujo before, but after experiencing some things, especially when sect master Yuan told him about the heroic deeds of Yun Chujo who risked her own safety to save others in the Thunder Valley, his view of her had changed. Yun Chujo nodded obediently. President, I understand. I will definitely not let you down. I will amaze everyone during the big exam and become the second person to enter the upper house directly from the lower house. President He did not bother to waste his breath on her and directly chased her out of the study room. This little girl who did not know her limits would naturally know how powerful she was when the big exam came. Soon, the 10 Directions Academy ushered in the big exam that was held once every 6 months. The big exam of the 10 Directions Academy was not divided into grades. Instead, all the students participated in the exam together. Out of more than 10,000 students, only the top 1,000 were qualified to enter the middle school. In the big exam, the last 100 students would be expelled. Therefore, the big exam was an extremely important event for every student. The location of the big exam was set above the 1 Yuan Waterside Pavilion of the 10 Directions Academy. The 10 Directions Academy had 6 waterside pavilions specially used for the exam. They were the 1 Yuan Waterside Pavilion, the 2 Elements Waterside Pavilion, the 3 Talents Waterside Pavilion, the 4 Symbols Waterside Pavilion, the 5 Elements Waterside Pavilion, and the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. The 1 Yuan Waterside Pavilion was the least difficult waterside pavilion for the exam. The higher one went, the more difficult it would be. The rules of the exam were simple and crude. In the 1 Yuan Waterside Pavilion, there were all kinds of small flags representing points. The final result was calculated according to the small flag points each person received. In the assessment, the use of talismans, the prohibition of flying, and the prohibition of snatching were all prohibited. In fact, even snatching was useless, because the small flags would only show the name of the first person to receive it. After President He explained the rules, he opened the assessment enchantment of the 1 Yuan Waterside Pavilion and teleported everyone inside. Before He Xinjiu entered, she was still proudly blinking her eyes at President He. President He glared at her and ignored her. He thought to himself, other students had basically made a breakthrough in the past 6 months, but this Yan Qingqing was still a good-for-nothing at the 9th level of Spirit Extinguisher realm. It was already a blessing that she was not ranked in the bottom 100 in this exam. She still had the wishful thinking to enter the upper house. Dream on. Everyone was transported to different locations. However, due to the large number of people participating in the exam, there were some students who were very close to each other. For example, Ding Wenru and Yun Chujo. Ding Wenru saw He Xinjiu who was not far away and was almost going crazy with joy. She had already summed up a famous saying. As long as she clung tightly to this fiend's thigh, anything was possible. The moment Ding Wenru thought that she might be able to enter the middle courtyard under He Xinjiu's light, she felt like she was floating. Immediately, she ran towards Yun Chujia's location. Qingqing, that's great. PM actually so close to you. Looks like I can safely enter the central courtyard this time. When that time comes, we can be together again. Chapter 57-22 How could she live? Yun Chujo glanced at Ding Wenru. We can't be together anymore. Ding Wenru was stunned at first, then said anxiously, Qingqing, why do you say that? How did I offend you? Don't you want to protect me? Yun Chujo bared her little white teeth. I'm going to enter the upper house this time. You can only enter the middle house at most, so we can't be together anymore. Ding Wenru's eyes widened. You want to enter the upper house? Didn't you say that the top 1,000 in the lower house assessment can only enter the middle house? How are you going to enter the upper house? President He told me that as long as I get first place and am 1,000 points higher than the second place, I can enter the upper house directly, Yun Chujo explained. Ding Wenru felt like she was struck by lightning when she heard that. If it wasn't for Qingqing, how could she live? If she didn't have Qingqing by her side, she would be courting death if she entered the central courtyard. She might as well stay in the lower house. However, she knew that there was nothing she could do about it. She couldn't let her lover not reunite with her, right? The more Ding Wenru thought about it, the less confident she was in the future. It was as if she could already see the abyss of suffering in the future. She didn't want to live anymore. Suddenly, Ding Wenru's eyes lit up. Qingcheng, I'm your biological sister, He Xinjiu, Ding Wenru said excitedly. Didn't President He say that as long as you are first place, you can enter the upper house as long as you are 1,000 points higher than second place? Then we can tie for first place. This way, we can enter the upper house together. Although I'm not very capable, I can still run errands for you and help you spread the word. If not, I can help you keep an eye on those coquettish bitches so that they won't covet your big brother Beiyu. He Xinjiu, Ding Wenru had never felt so smart before. She listed her strengths without stopping. In her opinion, it did not matter where she was, as long as she hugged Qingcheng's thigh tightly. A few years later, the high and mighty Ding Wenru said to her juniors with a profound expression, "The most correct thing in my life is to cling onto the right thigh." Of course, this was all in the future. At this moment, she looked pitifully at He Xinjiu and forced a pitiful expression on the tomboy's face. When you enter the upper house, your cultivation will definitely be at the bottom. When that time comes, there will inevitably be a lot of sarcasm and ridicule. You might even be expelled during the assessment. Are you sure you want to do this? Yun Chujo asked seriously. As long as I can follow you, nothing will be a problem. Even if I am expelled in the end, I will accept it, Ding Wenru said firmly. Hey X. Alright, then I will try my best. But if I don't get enough points in the end, I will be powerless. Ding Wenru immediately nodded as if she was pounding garlic. Alright. Let's get your points first. When your points are enough, you can help me earn more points. I am not in a hurry. Yun Chujo looked up at the sky speechlessly. For some reason, she felt that Ding Wenru was very similar to Buttface at this moment. She was just missing a tail. After the two of them finished their discussion, they began to look for the small flag. Yun Chujo had previously asked others about it. Although the grand examination was held in the 1 Yuan Water Pavilion, the content and rules of the examination were different each time. Therefore, there was no experience to follow. They could only take one step at a time. They are now in a valley. It does not look like there is any danger, of course, did not see the so-called small flag. Chapter 57-23, The Little Red Flag. Qingcheng, what kind of tricks do you think the Academy will come up with to test us? Ding Wenru asked curiously. Who knows? It's nothing more than demonic beasts or formations. Let's wait and see, Yun Chujo said as she looked around. At this moment, Ding Wenru pointed to the front and said, Flag. Flag. Look. Yun Chujo looked in the direction that Ding Wenru pointed and saw a small red flag in the distance. The small flag in the assessment was divided into 7 colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. The red flag had the lowest points and was also the easiest to get. On the contrary, the purple flag had the highest points and was also very difficult to get. Yun Chujo glanced at the small red flag and said with a lack of interest, It's just a small red flag. Why are you so excited? Qingcheng, this mosquito leg is also meat. Let's put it away, Ding Wenru said excitedly. She felt that her decision was right. As long as she followed Qingcheng, her luck was better than others. She found a flag so quickly. Ding Wenru took 2 steps in 3 steps and hurriedly ran toward the small red flag. However, just as she was about to get close to the small red flag, countless sharp vines emerged from the ground and crazily attacked her. Ding Wenru was shocked. She hurriedly raised her spiritual energy barrier and retreated a distance. Those vines should have an attack range. After reaching a certain distance, they would no longer spread. However, since it was a test, it was naturally difficult. It was impossible for the students to easily get their hands on the flag. Ding Wenru released her spiritual fire leopard. Qingcheng, let's go together. Hei Xingjiu touched her chin. She didn't know if the process of the test would be monitored. It was better for her to be cautious and not give herself away. Therefore, she said to Ding Wenru, Sister Ding, PM a little tired. You go alone. Ding Wenru. What happened to the thigh? What happened to holding hands and entering the upper house? Ding Wenru cursed in her heart, but she still directed her spiritual fire leopard to attack the vines. Yun Chuzhou narrowed her eyes and watched from the side. The difficulty of the red flag was the lowest. Even if Ding Wenru's cultivation level was only at the third layer of the divine revelation realm, she could still succeed after spending some time. Sure enough, Ding Wenru spent nearly 2 hours to finally remove all the vines and successfully obtained the small red flag. Yun Chuzhou took the small red flag and looked at it curiously. Ding Wenru's name had already appeared on it. It was very magical. She returned the flag to Ding Wenru and the two of them continued to walk forward. Qing. I think it's already good enough if we don't get eliminated, Ding Wenru said somewhat dispiritedly. Yun Chuzhou pointed at her own head. Sister Ding, spiritual power is not enough to gather intelligence. PM definitely going to take first place. Ding Wenru was skeptical, but she had already boarded the pirate ship, so she could only place her hopes on Hei Xingjia's head. The two chatted as they walked, and soon, they found a small red flag. Apparently, there were a lot of small red flags. Ding Wenru learned her lesson this time. She first released the spiritual fire leopard to test it out. The moment the spiritual fire leopard approached the small red flag, countless wind blades shot out from the small red flag. The spiritual fire leopard was quickly dispersed. Chapter 57-24 was so poor that only money was left. Qingcheng, you can't just sit by and do nothing this time. You have to come with me. Otherwise, it will be too much of a waste of time, Ding Wenru said. Yun Chuzhou said lazily, actually, if you want me to say it, you might as well give up this flag. As long as you listen to me, you will soon have many flags. Ding Wenru was so angry that she was amused. Qingcheng, I admit that you're smart, but aren't you being a little arrogant? Tell me, how can you let me have so many flags? Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. You don't believe me? Then come with me. Ding Wenru saw that Yun Chuzhou sounded very serious, so she simply gave up on the red flag. She wanted to see how Yun Chuzhou would let her have so many flags. After the two of them walked for a while, Ding Wenru urged, Qingcheng, where's the flag we agreed on? Where is it? What's the rush? I have to meet someone first. Ding Wenru suddenly stopped in her tracks and widened her eyes. Qingcheng, you're not allowed to rob during the assessment. Besides, even if you did, the name on the flag wouldn't be the two of us. Are you confused? Yun Chuzhou smiled but didn't say anything. Ding Wenru gritted her teeth. She wanted to see what kind of tricks she had up her sleeves. Needless to say, the two of them soon met the two official students of the Raging Fire Department. The two of them were working together to attack the vines. Their target was a small red flag. Seniors, stop first. I have something important to tell you, Yun Chuzhou shouted at the top of her voice. The two students didn't understand, but they still stopped and looked at Yun Chuzhou. What is it? Yun Chuzhou said pitifully, Seniors, you know that PM are good for nothing. If I was ranked in the bottom 100 this time, I would definitely be expelled. I thought about it, I can only buy a few flags. So I plan to buy the flag that you attacked. The two students were a little confused. What do you mean? What do you mean by buying the flag that we attacked? After you destroy the vines, don't take the flag. Let me take it, and I'll pay you 2,000 high-grade spirit stones each. Based on the strength of the two of you, this little red flag was only dispensable. Selling it to me wouldn't be a loss for you. What do you think? The two students looked at each other. The points of the little red flag were very little. It was indeed dispensable to them. If they could exchange it for 2,000 spiritual stones, it would not be a loss. Thus, the two of them nodded in agreement. 15 minutes later, Hei Shinjo happily obtained a little red flag. The price was 4,000 upper-grade spiritual stones. Ding Wenru was both stunned and shocked. After the two students left, she said, "Qingcheng, don't tell me you want to win first place by buying a flag?" Yun Chujo nodded very seriously. "Congratulations, you got it right." Ding Wenru. "Qingcheng, your method definitely won't work. Don't look at how those two people agreed to sell you the flag just now. The others might not agree. Moreover, if you want our points to be tied for first place, you have to surpass the second place by 1,000 points. How many spirit stones do you need? Can you afford it?" Since the two of them agree, others will also agree. Because the little red or orange flags are not valuable, it won't affect their grades. They will be very happy to sell it to me. Don't forget, only the top 1,000 students can enter the middle court. The vast majority of students are ranked in the top 1,001 place. There is no essential difference. Why don't they change the flags into money? As for money, I am so poor that only money is left. Chapter 57-25 Buying a flag. Ding Wenru was dumbfounded when she heard Yunchuji's words. She felt that her worldview had been refreshed. How could she still play like this? Buy a flag to enter the upper house with spirit stones? She thought carefully and realized that Yunchuji's words really made sense. For many students, since they had no hope of entering the middle house, why didn't they exchange the flag for spirit stones? With spirit stones, they could have better cultivation resources. It was many times better than the ranking with no practical use. But, could it really work? Ding Wenru's doubts were quickly dispelled. Because in the next few days, unless it was a student who had the ambition to break into the top 1,000, the rest of the students readily agreed. It would be a fool not to earn money. Some students even asked her and Yun Chujo to follow them so that they could sell more flags to them. Hence, Yun Chujo came up with a new idea. She organized more and more people to gather together. Every time they saw a flag, they would sell it to Yun Chujo. After that, they would split the spirit stones equally. However, as Yun Chujo got more and more flags, some students began to feel a little unbalanced. If Yen Qingchen got so many flags, wouldn't she be able to enter the middle school? Hei Shinjo had already anticipated such a situation. She did not hold back and went straight to the point. "I know what you are thinking. You simply think that I can enter the central courtyard by relying on your flags, while you can only stay in the lower house. Your hearts are not balanced. However, don't forget that even if you don't sell me your flags, you will not be able to enter the central courtyard. Moreover, I didn't ask for your flags for nothing. I paid a huge amount of spirit stones. This is all the hard-earned money that I worked hard to earn." After being beaten up by her, the crowd had gotten rid of their unbalanced thoughts. Besides, they felt that Yun Chujo and Ding Wenru were asking for it when they entered the central courtyard. With their level of trash, they would be expelled sooner or later. On the way, Yun Chujo met Qin Linglong and Ding Wenru. She secretly told them about her and Ding Wenru's plans and asked for their opinions. Since they were friends, they would naturally not favor one over the other. If they were willing, Yun Chujo would also agree to let the two of them become equal first. After all, the business was going smoothly. However, they did not expect that Qin Linglong and Gu Yeni would reject Yun Chuji's proposal. "Qingcheng, thank you for your good intentions, but we know our own limits. Let alone the upper house, even the middle house might not be able to." Qin Linglong said. The purpose of entering the 10 Directions Academy was to cultivate well, so it was more important to choose a suitable place and not to aim too high. Everyone had their own aspirations, so they naturally couldn't force it. Yun Chujo respected their choice. Moreover, Yun Chujo felt that what they said made sense. In fact, If Ding Wenru had not shamelessly insisted on going with her, she would have also wanted her to stay in the lower house. Yun Chujia's business was in full swing, and many people were extremely envious, such as Fan Chi. He had long hated Yun Chuzhou to the bone, but he had no way to take revenge. Now that he saw that Yun Chuzhou actually wanted to use the method of buying flags to enter the middle house, he sneered in his heart. This Yan Qingcheng was really daydreaming. She actually wanted to rely on this method to enter the middle house. Wishful thinking. When he got out, he would expose her cheating behavior to the principal and make her come up empty-handed. Chapter 57-26. They cheated. When the exam was about to end, He Xingjiu and Ding Wenru began to count their flags. They destroyed the extra flags to ensure that their points would be the same. Ding Wenru was so happy that she was about to fly. She swore that she would hold on to Yun Chujia's golden legs for the rest of her life. Just as she was bubbling with joy, Yun Chuzhou handed her a piece of paper. Sign your name and press your fingerprint. Ding Wenru looked at the dazzling amount of debt on it and felt that she would never be able to pay it off in this lifetime. Well, she still hadn't paid off the sponsorship fees from last time. She said with a bitter face, Qingcheng, why don't you just give me a contract to sell your body? It'll be yours from now on. Yun Chuzhou glanced at her and said indifferently, what I lack is not a servant but a friend. Ding Wenru's originally laughing expression suddenly froze. After a long while, she said word by word, good. From now on, we will be friends through life and death. Although I, Ding Wenru, am stupid, at the very least, I still have a life. If there is a time when I can be of use, I will protect you with my life. Yun Chuzhou stretched out her hand, and Ding Wenru also stretched out her hand. The two of them high-fived each other. From now on, they would live and die together. They would advance and retreat together, taking care of each other with courage. Finally, it was time for the grand examination to end. Everyone was teleported outside the boundary. President He and the others were already waiting outside. Furthermore, there was a lecturer who specialized in counting flags. There was no need to count them one by one. As long as the flags were placed on a specific formation plate, the points would be displayed. The students began to scramble to hand over the flags. However, Yun Chuzhou was leisurely watching from behind. Only when the show came to an end would it be shocking. Only the top 1,000 names were displayed on the shadow stone. As more and more points kept appearing, the list of names was also changing at any time. President He saw that Yun Chuzhou had not come forward to verify her points. He thought that this little girl who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth was probably afraid of losing face, which was why she had not verified her points. Could it be that her points were pitifully low and she would be expelled? Just as President He was thinking about it, Yun Chuzhou and Ding Wenru walked up to the two lecturers respectively and poured the flags in their storage rings onto the formation disc. The lecturers were all dumbfounded. Why were there so many? Although they were all red, orange, and yellow flags with low points, they could not withstand the large number. President He was also stunned. Yun Chuzhou and her lack. How was this possible? When the numbers on the shadow stone were displayed, President He staggered. Yan Qingcheng, 18,888 points. Ding Wenru, 18,888 points. The candidate who was pushed to third place, the pitiful 5,000 points behind his name, seemed like a joke. The entire venue was dead silent. Such a situation had never happened before. This was too unbelievable. Yun Chuzhou walked in front of President He with a smile. President He, I told you I would amaze everyone, right? Do you think that Ding Wenru and I have fulfilled the conditions to enter the upper house? The first thought that flashed through President He's mind was, did something go wrong when they planted the flag? So they picked up a loophole. However, no matter what the reason was, the result was already here. He could not deny what he had said. Moreover, the academy did have such a rule. At this moment, Fan Chi said loudly, President, Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru are cheating. Chapter 57:27, How could it be wrong? President He's gaze froze as he looked at Fan Qi. What's going on? These flags were purchased by Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru with spirit stones. They weren't obtained by their own strength at all. President He, please investigate. Fan Qi immediately brought up the matter of Yun Chuzhou buying the flags. After saying that, he looked at Yun Chuzhou with a cold smile. He wanted to enter the upper house. Dream on. President He and the other lecturers were dumbstruck. Oh God! They could still play like this? Were the previous students too honest, or were Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru too treacherous? After recovering from his shock, President He's face darkened. Yan Qingcheng, Ding Wenru, what do you have to say? Ding Wenru hated Fan Qi to death. She wished she could go up and slap him to death. It's over, I'm afraid I won't be able to go to the upper academy anymore. The spirit stones that could topple cities would also go down the drain. However, there was not the slightest trace of panic on Yun Chuzhou's face. There was even a faint smile on her face. President, I admit that those flags were indeed bought by me with spirit stones. President He immediately flew into a rage. Nonsense. How can the grand examination be child's play? The results of the two of you are invalid. President, please don't be angry. Let me finish my words. Yun Chuzhou said calmly. President He glared at her. What else do you have to say? This is outrageous. You are violating the rules of the academy. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. President, which rule says that you are not allowed to exchange spirit stones for flags? President He went through the rules of the academy, but there was really no such rule. Besides this guy in front of him, no one else would come up with such a bad idea. Naturally, there was no relevant rule. He Xinjiu continued, is there no such rule? Since there is no such rule, what's wrong with me doing this? I earned those spirit stones with my strength, and I used the spirit stones earned with my strength to exchange for flags. In this way, didn't I exchange for flags with my strength? Moreover, even if we were to go and snatch the treasure after graduation in the future, wouldn't it count if I used the spirit stones to hire people to help me search for the treasure? Moreover, I did this in order to give you a reminder. In the future, when you take the examination again, you can add this clause to prevent others from taking advantage of this loophole. I have put in a lot of effort. President This Yan Qingcheng really had a sharp tongue. Even if she was dead, she could still be said to be alive. Black could also be said to be white. It was clearly a cheating act of stealing a trick, but she had forcefully said that she had put in a lot of effort. She was really shameless. However, regardless of whether it was the rules that had been announced previously or the rules of the 10 Directions Academy, there was no such rule. However, letting the two of them enter the upper house just like that was too easy for them. Moreover, what would the other students think? What would the teachers and students of the upper house think? This was simply a joke. After weighing the pros and cons, President said, we will discuss this matter later. Regardless of whether Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru will enter the upper house or not, the two of them will not occupy the spots in the middle house. The remaining 1,000 people will be qualified to enter the middle house. The people ranked 1001 and 1002 nearly burst into tears. They thought that they were unlucky enough to fail in the ranking. However, they did not expect the situation to change. This was really something to celebrate. After returning to the waterside pavilion of the lower house, President He and the group of lecturers began to discuss the matter between Yun Chuzhou and Ding Wenru. The focus of the discussion was whether their results counted or not. Chapter 57:28 was about to come into being in the meeting hall of the lower house. After President He told them what had happened, the atmosphere was a little strange. All the lecturers looked at each other in dismay. They had never thought that someone would buy a flag during the exam. In order to prevent people from snatching the flag, they had specially designed a special flag. Only the first person to get the flag would show their name, but they had never thought that someone would use spirit stones to buy the flag to take advantage of the loophole. After a moment, the crowd began to express their opinions. Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru's actions are blatant cheating. They must not be tolerated. Not only must their results be cancelled, but they must also be expelled from the academy. That's right. This kind of opportunistic behavior is too arrogant and must be severely punished. But the academy's rules do not explicitly prohibit this kind of behavior. It is a little unjustified. There's one more point that everyone might have forgotten. Other than the two main culprits, Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru, there are also thousands of people who participated in this matter. They are also accomplices. If we want to deal with them, this incident will affect too much. Everyone was arguing non-stop. President He felt like his head was going to explode. This Yan Qingcheng was always able to give him difficult problems. He might as well just shove her directly into the upper house so that she would not cause trouble for him again. President He's heart suddenly stirred. That's right, he could just leave this hot potato to the upper house and let them decide. After all, Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru would be going to the upper house in the end. President He was immediately delighted. Everyone, I already know your opinions. I will summarize your opinions and feedback them to the upper house. As for whether Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru are admitted or not, let the upper house decide. Everyone silently gave President He a thumbs up. Impressive. Truly impressive. As expected of the president. President He walked out of the meeting hall. Before he even reached the entrance of the lower house, he saw a familiar figure in the distance. Who else could it be but Yan Qingcheng? President He wondered in his heart. Why was she here? Could it be that she had already thought of him going to the upper house? She was almost a demon. At this moment, He Xinjiu ran over and asked, President, are you going to the upper house? President He snapped, so what if I am? He Xinjiu looked around and said in a low voice, President, let's talk in private. I have something important to tell you. President He said impatiently, let's talk about it when I come back. It will be too late by the time you. Forget it, I'll talk to you here. Are you going to let the upper academy decide the matter between Ding Wenru and me? He Xinjiu blinked and asked. President He said unhappily, so what if I am? President He. You will definitely regret it if you do this. President He snorted coldly, regret? If you went to the upper house to talk about it now, how do you think the upper house would react? There were only two scenarios. One was to confirm Ding Wenru and PS results and admit us. The other was to invalidate our results and make us drop out of school. No matter which scenario it was, the lower house and you would become a laughingstock. You would become a target for some people in the upper house to attack you in the future, because Ding Wenru and I are your dear students. As the saying goes, if you don't study hard, you will be blamed for our mistakes. That's why you must not go to the upper house. As the saying goes, one must not spread one's dirty laundry. If we quietly turn a big issue into a small one, it will be over. Why do we have to go to the upper house and make a fool of ourselves? Chapter 57-29, I seek death for them. President He frowned and thought about it carefully. He felt that what Yun Chuzhou said was not without reason. He had thought things too simply. Many people in the upper house were eyeing the post of the president of the lower house covetously. They even wanted to cause some trouble for no reason. If they really brought this matter to the upper house, it would indeed be somewhat inappropriate. While President He was deep in thought, He Xinjiu said with a smile, President He, actually, why are you in such a difficult position? Just let me and Ding Wenru go to the upper house directly. Anyway, you are doing things according to the rules. No one can find fault with you. If someone finds fault with you, will you let them point out which rules in the rules forbid you from buying flags? When the two of us go to the upper house, the ones who will have a headache are those people from the upper house. After all, we entered the exam in broad daylight. What else can they do to us? Moreover, we are your dear students. If we succeed, you will also be proud, right? If we are cheated and expelled, how could you bear to do that? President He's expression changed a few times. Apparently, he had not made up his mind on what to do. Hei Shinjo pursed her lips and said with a sobbing voice, President, actually, I have no choice. If I don't go to the upper house to keep an eye on Brother Beiyu, he might be kidnapped by some flirtatious bitch. I'm your biological student, and Brother Beiyu is your biological student's son-in-law. Do you have the heart to see us being separated from each other? President He gritted his teeth. All right, I'll give you two the right to enter the upper house directly. However, if the upper house has any objections, there's nothing I can do. Yun Chujo immediately broke into a smile. It's fine as long as you give us the right. If the people from the upper house cause any trouble, I'll kill them. President He. Actually, it was good to let this guy go to the upper house. At least, it would give those guys a headache. Why was he the only one who had a headache? In order to avoid a long delay, after the final decision was announced the next morning, President He directly led the two people to the upper house. President He's mood was quite complicated. He could imagine the reactions of the people from the upper house when they saw these two guys. Hei Shinjo came over and said, President, explain the situation to me when you arrive at the upper house. Then, turn around and leave. Leave the rest to me. Naturally, President He could not ask for more. He nodded and agreed immediately. Hei Shinjo blinked and said, President, please tell me who is your sworn enemy in the upper house. President He glared at her and said, Don't talk nonsense. We are all colleagues. There is no sworn enemy. If you can stay in the upper house, you should focus on your cultivation. You should know that the upper house has its own assessment system. If you are ranked behind, you will be sent back to the middle house. Oh, you too will probably be sent back to the lower house. That will be even more embarrassing. Hei Shinjo pursed her lips in her heart, but she still replied obediently, We will definitely remember your teachings. If you need us in the future, please feel free to instruct us, President. We will go through fire and water without hesitation. Although President He felt that it was impossible for him to use her for any help, he was more or less touched by her words. He sighed. The students of the upper house are all favored by the heavens, and many of them have powerful backgrounds. Don't make too much trouble when you get to the upper house, or you might not be able to save yourself. President, you know me well. I have always been obedient and sensible. I'm a good student who follows the rules. I won't cause any trouble, Hei Shinjo said very naturally. President He. Chapter 5730 was all bought as they spoke. The ship had already docked at the pier of the upper house's waterside pavilion. President He brought Yun Chujo and Ding Wenru off the ship. After the guards checked their identities, they entered the upper house. As soon as they entered, they met President Hua of the middle house. The students who had passed the examination in the middle house also had to go through the admission procedures today, so President Hua came over early as well. President Hua saw President He and cupped his fists from afar. President He, what a coincidence. Are you here to take care of business in the upper house? President He's face stiffened slightly. He pointed at Hei Shinjo and Ding Wenru behind him and said unnaturally, There are two students in our lower house who meet the requirements to be directly promoted to the upper house, so I brought them here to go through the admission procedures. Since President He had issued a gag order, the news of Yun Chujo and Ding Wenru buying flags had not spread. Therefore, President Hua was shocked immediately. His eyes fell on Yun Chujo and Ding Wenru, and his expression became a little strange. One was at the 9th level of Spirit Extinguisher, and the other was at the 3rd level of Divine Enlightenment. What a joke! With such cultivation, they could not even enter the middle house, let alone the upper house. President He, are you kidding me? President He's face became even stiffer. He said vaguely, they have obtained very high points in the exam, and their points are the same. Therefore, according to the Academy's rules, they meet the conditions to enter the upper house. President Hu felt that there must be something fishy going on, but seeing that President He didn't want to say more, he didn't ask further. Anyway, he would know the truth when he got to the enrollment formalities. Behind President Hu stood many students from the Central Academy. They were among the top 100 students in the Central Academy's entrance exam and had obtained the right to enter the Upper Academy. They looked at Yun Chuzhou and Ding Wenru with eyes full of suspicion and disdain. These two had actually been promoted from the Lower Academy to the Upper Academy. How was this possible? President He and President Hu chatted as they walked and quickly arrived at the registration area. The admission of new students was a major event. Therefore, other than Manager Yang, who was in charge of the registration, the other branches of the upper house each sent a vice-chancellor to oversee the registration. Yun Chuzhou knew 4 of them. Among them, she had met Vice-Chancellor Dong Fang, Vice-Chancellor Mu, and Vice-Chancellor Duanmu when they went to the lower house to give lectures. She had met Vice-Chancellor Duanmu in particular when they were in the Chongshao continent. There was also an old acquaintance, which was Vice-Chancellor Shao. In addition to these 4 people, there were also 2 old men. Everyone saw President Hua and President He stand up to greet each other. While Vice-Chancellor Shao was greeting each other, the corner of his eyes fell on Yun Chuzhou, and a trace of sternness flashed across his eyes. After greeting each other, President He remembered what Yun Chuzhou had said before. He spoke to Manager Yang, who was handling the admission procedures. First, Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru from the lower house have tied for the first place in the grand examination. They are also 13,000 points higher than the second place, so they are eligible to enter the upper house directly. This is the certificate. I still have something to do in the lower house. Goodbye. After saying that, President He left as if he was flying. Even President Hua's shouts from behind did not stop him. Instead, he walked even faster, looking as if he was fleeing in a panic. Everyone. Manager Yang, who had gone through the admission procedures, looked at the certificate in his hand and was immediately dumbfounded. Because the remarks below clearly stated the reason why Yan Qingcheng and Ding Wenru had obtained such a huge amount of points, their flags were all bought. Chapter 57:31. Innocence. Vice President Duanmu, who was standing beside Manager Yang, saw his stiff face and went over to take a look. He was petrified. The other vice presidents also went over to take a look. Even Director Hua had the cheek to squeeze over to take a look. Then, they were petrified. No wonder President He had run away in a hurry. So that was the reason. Vice President Shao snorted coldly. This is outrageous. This is obviously cheating. And you still want to enter the upper house? Such a person is not worthy to be a student of our 10 Directions Academy. He should be expelled. Ding Wenru was shocked. It was over, it was over. This time, she was afraid that she would lose everything. However, Yun Chuzhou said indifferently, Vice President Shao, I can understand that you hold a grudge against me because of the incident in Thunder Valley. But now, you are using your official position to seek personal revenge. Isn't this a little too much? How did I cheat? Which school rule of the academy says that you are not allowed to buy flags? If you find out this school rule, I will immediately withdraw from the school. You. Good, very good, I will find it for you now. After saying that, Director Xiaofu took out several school rules. Some of them were from the upper house, the middle house, the lower house, and the 6 branches of the upper house. After going through them for 13 times, he still couldn't find any rule that forbade the use of spirit stones to buy flags. This was awkward. Director Zaifa's face was ashen. Even if there are no school rules, you are still taking advantage of the situation. You don't deserve to enter the upper house. Men. Send them back to the lower house. The freshman who had just entered the upper house immediately revealed gloating expressions. TSK, these two trash still wanted to enter the upper house like them? What wishful thinking. In particular, some of the girls recognized Yun Chujio. After all, because of the incident with Bei Yu, Hei Xingjia's portrait had spread throughout the three houses, and she had become the public enemy of the majority of the girls. If this Yan Qingchen were to enter the upper house, wouldn't it be more convenient for her and Bei Yu to be intimate with each other? They definitely could not let her enter the upper house. Yun Chuzhou sneered, Vice Director Xiaofu, this upper house is not your place. There are still 5 vice-chancellors here. Do you think that you can make the decision on their behalf? Or do you think you are superior to others and have a higher status than others? Director Xiaofu felt the dissatisfaction in the eyes of the other 5 deputy directors and almost died from anger. This crafty girl was actually trying to sow discord. It was really He quickly apologized to the other 5 people, everyone, I didn't mean that. I was just angered by the shameless actions of these 2 students. I was a little reckless for a moment. Please forgive me. The other 5 vice-chancellors naturally wouldn't really fall out. As for what they were thinking, no one knew. Manager Yang looked troubled, Vice-chancellors, are these 2 students going to accept them or return to the lower house? The vice-chancellors looked at each other and cursed President He in their hearts. No wonder he ran away faster than a rabbit. It turned out that he had already expected such a scene. He was too cunning. What should they do now? At this moment, Yun Chuzhou bowed and said, Vice-chancellors, the loophole in buying the flag is because the rules are not perfect. It should not be us who bear the consequences. As the saying goes, one cannot be a square without rules. Since Ding Wenru and I have met the admission requirements, according to the rules, we are students of the upper house. If we are sent back to the lower house, won't the rules of the academy become a piece of empty paper? It will become a big joke. I believe that the 6 vice-chancellors are sensible teachers who respect the rules. They will definitely give us 2 innocent students a fair treatment. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.